Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Untold, your show that's all about meeting new people, listening to their stories, and being inspired by their experiences. Hadeel, how are you today?
I'm good, Ahmed. How are you?
I'm good.
Today's guest
Today's guest
is
is a good
incredible.
friend of mine. She's an incredible educator, and then somehow a life experience made her a life coach.
So we're gonna get some life coach lessons today, hopefully.
Perhaps we're going to talk about everything. We're going to get really deep and spiritual.
I have a lot of questions.
Yep. Let's not waste any time and welcome our guest, Lizzie Siegel, right after this.
So we're back again, and we're joined by our guest Elizabeth or Lizzie Siegel. Am I saying that right?
Yes,
Siegel,
thank
right?
you. Yep.
Okay. So first of all, you are a PE teacher, you are a life coach, and I'm gonna stop. I'll let you talk about yourself.
Thank you.
Also, you're from Canada,
Yes.
all the way from Canada, coming to Kuwait. You've been in Kuwait for 11 years. We want the whole journey. And why
Tell us
Kuwait?
your
That's the one
story.
question we ask foreigners is why Kuwait?
Okay, I will give you the Reader's Digest version
Okay,
because
all right.
11 years is a lot to put in. So, I came from Canada, and originally I actually was in South Korea, and then I moved to Kazakhstan for a couple
Oh,
of
wow.
years, and
What makes you want to travel around and do those stuff? Because not a lot of people do that.
yes.
Yeah.
I am very fortunate. My parents instilled in me from a young age the love for travel. So
Ah,
I got
okay.
to travel when I was younger. And it really expanded my horizons about what is in the world and how much is possible and like all the places that we could possibly see.
Right.
And so from a very young age, I was like enamored by traveling. And then when I finished my degree with teaching, at the time in Canada, there were a lot of excess teachers and not a lot of jobs.
Oh.
And so I knew that I wanted to teach immediately. Like I went to
Right,
school for
right.
5 years and now I'm
I wanna work.
roaring to go.
Right, right.
So I read an article in a magazine that talked about a girl who wanted to possibly do this internship across the world, and she was talking to her mentor and she said, one day if I get to blah blah blah, and the mentor was like, no, one day when you go and travel. And that sentence stuck with me literally forever. It's been with me since then. And so I think about one day when I get to do the thing I want to do, it will totally happen.
Being optimistic.
And just believing that everything we dream is possible. So I thought, well, I like that idea of what if I would travel somewhere else to teach. And so I hopped on Facebook, because back in the day, Facebook was the thing.
Right.
I totally did this. I was like, does anybody know of a teaching job somewhere in the world?
In the world.
Yeah,
like-
I
like,
was
you were
not
like, anywhere,
specific
doesn't
at
matter.
all.
Okay.
Anywhere. I'll take anything.
Okay.
Within hours, one of my friends from from university, my first year of university, she replied and she said, I have friends who are over in South Korea. I'll put you in contact with them.
Oh, wow.
2 weeks later, I was talking to them and put in my resume at their school. It was an English hagwon in South Korea, and a hagwon is like an English school. So in the day, young children come and they learn, and then in the afternoon, the older children come and do more study work. And so I went to there 2 months later. I lived in South Korea, and that was my introduction to the world of international teaching. And I found
Wow.
out there was so much more, and there were things called international baccalaureate schools.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's South Korea.
Yes.
What was your, Leslie? Any culture shocks? What was it like in South
It
Korea?
was so different than
Yeah,
anything that I'd ever
yeah.
experienced. I thought it was so futuristic, and this was like 15 years
It's
ago.
a
It was
very
so
beautiful
futuristic.
country, too.
I mean, my
Right.
biggest fear when traveling to another country that I don't know anything about is the food.
Yeah, so at the time even, I was vegan.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like
I
hardcore
think,
vegan.
I think that would be fine. I mean, if I had veggies
I mean,
anywhere.
I guess,
Well, that's what I thought too.
And
So
what
I
happens,
ate a lot of rice.
a
I
rice.
ate a lot of
rice.
rice.
a lot of carbs.
Yeah.
a lot of carbs.
And so then actually I became vegetarian living there because it was so hard
To be vegan.
to be vegan because they actually just didn't have those kinds of options. And I'd say like no meat, and
This
they'd
is
still
what
bring
year
me
are
fish.
we talking about? South Korea?
That was in 2011, I
Yeah,
believe.
it's like veganism in the U.S. is just like.
Are you still
being popular.
vegetarian or?
I eat mostly plant-based, so I don't like to narrow myself in because I've learned that when I travel, I actually am open to trying things, especially sweets. Sweets get me, but I am completely vegetarian. I
So
don't
you
eat
don't
meat.
never
Alright.
tried steak or anything?
Oh, I've tried
Yeah,
it. I just don't
you've
eat
had
it.
meat.
Oh,
not
okay.
anymore.
So it's just a matter of preference, not a matter of.
Yeah, it makes me feel differently, and so I choose not to eat it for many reasons.
Okay.
But I've been vegetarian most of my life. There's just been little pockets where I tried eating meat
Yeah.
for a while. And yes, absolutely, it's delicious.
Right.
However, the way it makes my body feel is not what I
Yeah,
enjoy.
it
Okay,
reminds me
I
of the time we had a
understand.
vegan chef.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah. South Korea, then
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. I mean,
the
it's
experience
totally different
there is-
culture.
Yeah,
Yep.
totally different cultures.
And the interesting part about that was when I learned there was international baccalaureate schools, I went to Wikipedia and I Googled the list and started at A and ended up at M, just cold applying
A&M.
schools.
Okay.
Yes, and this one school, a few schools answered me, but this one in Kazakhstan particularly just seemed, I don't know, there was something about it that spoke to me. And they were
Okay.
very friendly and they were a small school.
Question is, would you do research about the country before you travel to it, or you just surprise yourself?
Nope, I was
Just
like,
surprise yourself.
yeah, I
Let's
knew
go.
it was
whatever
the
hap-
ninth largest country in the world. I knew it was landlocked. I knew it was huge near Russia. I
But
thought, how
you
cool.
had no expectations of, or you had no idea what to expect.
Not even a little.
How much time did you spend there?
2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
24 months.
Yeah.
I'm counting.
Thank you for being specific.
Yeah, I learned Russian, like a first grader, of course, because
Okay,
you don't
okay.
really
But you could at least, go
But I-
around and
could talk to people. I could
Nice,
buy vegetables
nice.
at the little.
And you-
Bacalas.
nobody could fool you. And that's
Well,
How do you how do you compare the two experiences, South Korea and Kazakhstan, at this
oh,
point?
night and day different. So like, especially back then, Korea was so advanced, technologically speaking, organizationally
And it's like
speaking.
almost the opposite for Kazakhstan.
It was like going backwards into the old Soviet
Yeah,
times,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
their buses had holes in the floor.
Wow.
Right? And I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And they put like plywood over it,
and you stayed there for 2 years.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
because
the
it was,
situation.
I'm assuming it's still an experience
it
and
was
it's fun.
such an experience.
Such an experience.
And we got to go into the mountains
Oh,
and
yeah,
be with our
It's a
Kazakh
different
friends
world,
and
different world,
families, and my friends tried to eat. They ate horse because that's one of the popular meats there.
Horse?
Yeah,
Horse
they had
meat, yeah.
camel milk, which they also
Yeah,
have
yeah,
here.
Camel
milk
but
is
we
fine,
we
but
were still
horse?
like,
There's
what is
camel
this?
meat.
Camel meat is
Camel
fine.
meat,
And maybe because we grew up here in Kuwait.
Right, and they grew up eating horse, so
Yeah.
that was something that was popular. We went on little vacations to other places around there, like I went to Kyrgyzstan and jumped in a freezing cold lake in the middle of October. Just all these really cool experiences that
The adventure of your life.
I wanted to see the world, and the students I got to teach there were from all different countries and cultures, and it was
Nice.
super
So
cool.
it was a melting pot.
Yeah,
It's beautiful. From Kazakhstan, where we go next?
Kuwait.
All right. How did we
So
get
we
to
came
Kuwait?
here.
I went to a job fair in Thailand.
A job fair in Thailand.
So wait, you were in Kazakhstan?
And then I went on vacation for the winter holidays, and
Okay.
with the purpose of going to a job fair during my vacation.
So you're planning to actually work in Thailand?
No,
No,
I was
just
planning
going
to
to the
go
job
to
fair.
a new country.
Right.
I knew that I didn't want to live in Kazakhstan anymore, and that I had grown enough at the time with that school. And so I was looking for the next opportunity.
Next step.
And there are job fairs all around the world, and one of the hubs is Bangkok. It's
Interesting.
a hub for Southeast Asia and this part of
Okay.
Asia.
So what happens at the job fair?
You go to a whole bunch of people and you put in your resume and
Yeah,
talk
what
to
happens
them.
in your experience?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not generally
Not generally.
speaking.
What happened in your experience?
I was given an opportunity to work at AIS, the
Okay.
American International
Nice.
School of Kuwait. And my
And this is the funny thing is like a job fair in Thailand
yes,
has jobs
for
for
Kuwait.
Kuwait.
Absolutely.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a job fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't know that they will be sending people into the Gulf and all that.
I mean, if you want to get the best, teachers, you have to
go
right,
around.
right, they have to
go around and actually look for them.
So they suggested, or they gave you the option of Kuwait, and you took it.
Yeah, I had an interview with
Mm.
the superintendent, who was the superintendent at the time, and he was a Canadian as well. He was
Mm-hmm. Oh,
warm
you guys
and friendly.
clicked.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
And my friend also who I knew from Kazakhstan, she's also Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
She was with me at this job fair, and we both got offered a job there. So we were like, want to go to Kuwait together too? And we're like, yes, let's do this. And so
Nice.
we both moved over to Kuwait at the same
And
time.
you had no idea what you're gonna face here.
No, I knew it was a desert. Like, really, I didn't.
Desert? You guys still
Yeah,
think
still
we
think
live
it's a
in the
desert.
I still think
desert?
I do, and I've lived here 11 years. I'm like, I live in the desert. That's a fair assessment.
we
I
do.
mean-
We live in houses.
We do.
In the desert.
If
the
you look
desert.
at our map, we're like
If
living
you
in
go,
20% of Kuwait, and the rest of it is desert.
when you're like in the
You know?
airplane, all you see is desert.
desert.
But again, when you're here, you just don't feel it. I mean,
Well,
I mean,
unless
Kinda.
if you go
it's
to
a
the
kinda-
desert
kinda.
camping,
yeah,
we
that
come
I
from different
love.
perspectives.
Yeah.
you know?
Maybe
We
'cause
have
I grew up
different
here,
perspe-
so-
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
So, like, when I think of the desert, it really is sandy and
Sandstorms
sand
and all that.
dust,
Yeah,
and,
dust.
and the roads are
The roads,
deserty. Like, I know
deserty.
we have pavement, but to me, this is like, I don't. If I were to live in Switzerland, I'd probably say I live in the mountains. Even though it's
Okay.
not all mountains, I'd be
Okay,
like, oh yes,
okay.
I live in the mountains. So I just kind of classify it by this is where I live at the time. And knowing
Yeah,
it was
tell
a
me.
desert, I was just like, okay, that sounds like a really new opportunity, completely different than where I
let's teach
just
girls
was.
in the camps.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't know much, but I had a friend who was going to go too, and I trusted that this would be a great opportunity.
Okay.
So I took a leap.
And then what happened?
Tell me the first few weeks in Kuwait, culture shock, how you managed, any issues that arised.
Honestly, it was such a smooth transition, other than the heat. The heat was something different.
No one can stand our heat.
I mean, I'm local and I can't stand the heat, so.
Yeah.
That's a shame for a local to say.
You know when you open
Can
the
you
oven,
stand 50 degrees? Don't give me that look.
Sometimes.
Don't give me
you
that
want to
look.
be in that.
Thank God for AC.
Yes,
Yes.
really.
We do have air
Really,
conditioner
yes.
everywhere.
I
anyway,
was so grateful, but I would liken it to when you open the oven when you're baking something and you're like, what? That's what it felt like for me. I'd go walk outside
When
and
you
I'm like,
enter
my
Most of the
Kuwait,
eyes.
people,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
most of the people have the same. I met a Brazilian soccer player once, and he said the
Nice.
same thing. It was like sauna when I first came here.
Yes.
Because he came in July, and it was like
oh, worst time to come, my friend.
so
hot.
It's,
So hot.
But I guess you just
You
got used to it.
adapted.
And I love the heat now. If I go back
What?
to Canada, I wear sweaters even in the summer. I'm like, it's cold here. So
You're one of us now.
Yes, I am. And I love the heat. I'm
You've
like a
been-
little
you-
lizard, sand lizard.
You've been here too long.
Oh, I'm grateful though.
Speaking of Canada and being Canadian,
Yes.
This is just something that came to me here. There's this notion that Canadians are just too nice, and they will apologize for everything.
They are.
Is that correct?
They are.
And why do we have this notion about Canadians?
Well, I mean, all stereotypes are born out of some kind of truth. So,
Okay.
yeah, Canadians are super nice. We do tend to apologize for things that we absolutely should not.
Right.
And I'm, as a Canadian who knows that this is a thing that we even do, and I personally
do it yourself too.
Absolutely. I'm getting better at not apologizing for things I should
Right.
not. Because
Right.
even my friend pointed out the other day, she's like, you don't have to apologize for that. And I'm like, you are correct. I do not. I'm not apologizing.
So it's just like a cultural thing in Canada.
It's like
an extent.
Yeah, it's like it's our version of polite, I suppose. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't want
But
to
you're being
inconvenience
rude
And
you."
it's
here.
and they say
They're
sorry.
ruining
they say,
the Canadians
They
here.
say sorry in a cute way.
They
Like,
do.
Oh,
you know,
sorry. and it sounds a little like sorry.
Sorry. It's closer to how the Arabic accent is with English.
It
They don't say
is.
sorry
It's
for
like
most Kuwaitis.
sorry.
They would say
Or
sorry.
about.
So it's kind of close to
About.
about.
Like,
I mean, if you're from the coast, the east, the East Coast, then you have that sound. I don't know so many people who have that sound, and they're just from Ontario, where I'm
But you can
from.
still recognize a Canadian like from the way they talk.
Yeah,
I
it's just
can, at
these
least.
few words that you catch them.
They're like
You know?
little
like
tiny
Yeah,
roof
little,
or
yeah.
root,
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
because Americans will say roof, or they might say route.
Right. Okay.
route or route.
Route or route.
And a break.
And a break.
Let's take a break.
Yes, we'll be back right after this. We're back on the Untold with Lizzie. Lizzie, we're having a beautiful conversation. Now we're in Kuwait. You got to Kuwait. You're starting your career. Where in your 11 years in Kuwait that you jumped on life coaching?
This has come up in the last few years, actually.
Okay.
So I went through a huge transition in my own life over the last 9 years now. And it stemmed from me probably just not following my authentic truth myself and really doing what I wanted to do. And this led to kind of a series of unfortunate events where I would get, I got injuries. It made me become, when you're injured, your mindset can change. I wasn't as capable to do all the things I normally did. And I gained some weight and got really unhealthy for quite a while. And that ultimately led to me being quite incapable of moving for a while. And I was really kind of sick and
Depressed?
not well, depressed. I was anxious. I
can only imagine.
was
And
not
anxiety
happy.
is terrible.
It's
Been
a
there.
real thing, and I used to suffer from it severely. And now I can say, like, it's absolutely possible to get
And
rid
the
of.
thing is about anxiety, depressed people or people with anxiety, they look normal. I mean, I've been there.
We hide the pain.
It's like we smile, we look normal, we laugh. You could never tell unless if there's like some trigger,
Right.
and then you'll notice like the tension that happens in our bodies. And I've been there. I know what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
And then what happened?
It's important also then to know that we can uncover those shadows and allow ourselves to not be that person forever, because there's another way. And so I had an event that really changed my mobility, and it was about my back, and I couldn't move very well. I was really laid up for a while, and I had gained a lot of weight by this point. And so the doctors were like, well, you need to lose weight. But
You look
this is-
fit right now.
Thank you. This is a cyclical pattern, though. Like, if you need to lose weight but you can't move, how do you
how
lose
do you
weight
lose
if you
that?
can't move? And so I was either facing a back surgery, which would put pins and rods in my spine and make me a little bit immobile, well, quite a bit immobile, or somebody
Physical
offered.
therapy?
I tried that. I really did do a lot of things. And then the other option that was offered to me or told to me was, what if you did weight loss surgery? And to me, I'm like, ooh.
What's a weight loss surgery?
Well, there's
Like
many different
in Arabic,
kinds.
like takmim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to figure out which one you might
So
have done.
I did the
Yeah.
gastric sleeve. It's where
Okay.
they remove
Which
part
is-
of your
yeah.
stomach and leave part of it
I would
there.
have never thought that you had that surgery.
I mean,
Thank you.
I would have never thought.
yeah, like
I used it as my second chance for life,
Okay.
because to me it wasn't about losing the weight. It was about, I don't want my back
right.
straight rodded for however
Yeah.
for the rest of my life, and
Right.
not being able to move my body.
it's only gonna get worse with time because
So it helped doing the
Weight loss surgery. I lost about 20 kilograms right away, within, I don't know, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
So how much weight in overall?
I've lost, well, now it's about 90 pounds. So I think that's about
wow.
40
About
something
40,
kilograms.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
but you
Yeah.
look
That's a lot, mashallah.
yeah, knock on
Yeah,
wood.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you
Yes.
look really fit. Like I would never guess, because most people who go through weight loss surgery, they have, extra
Yeah,
skin
there are
on their
some
face.
signs.
They're
There are
Sometimes
some
there are some
signs.
signs.
Again, the way that I work with all the things that I do, it's all energy and talking to our bodies on a daily basis and really tuning into ourselves. And we can let our bodies regenerate in the best way possible, because they're living cells, breathing
Right,
cells. So
right.
we can change anything. It's also the power of the mind
Mm-hmm.
in order to allow our minds to direct ourselves to our dreams. And so in my mind, I envisioned what would the perfect or ideal version of me look like. And I even thought about my scars, and I was like, I'd really like the scars to be engulfed into my skin, to be incorporated, to not be so showy, because I've seen people have really
Bad
unfortunate
scars,
and
yeah.
drastic results. And so I set these intentions really at the beginning of everything. And before I had the surgery, I promised myself this was my second chance at life. This is not a joke to me. This is not just about what I look like, because it wasn't about that. It was about, can you make yourself the best version of you now that you get chance number 2 at life? People don't get that. And I promised myself if I could do that for me, I would then pour that out into the world. And so that's why I do what I do.
I like what
Yeah,
she said
uh-huh.
about becoming the best version of
Yeah.
yourself. I've never thought about it. Like, what is the best version of me? What is the best version of you?
From a few years back, we all know that.
No, like, I'm not talking about when you used to work out and you were healthy. I'm talking about What would
Oh,
you imagine
everything.
yourself
It's
as?
Your
everything.
ideal version.
Ideal version of me.
2019 me again.
And you can be that version and then even better.
Hopefully,
Absolutely,
I
you
can't-
can.
with
I
the
c- I
power
don't
of
know what-
positivity, everything can happen.
Yeah.
I can't imagine myself like, what is the best version of me? I think everyone should ask themselves
Yeah.
that question.
And I would encourage you to take like some real time to think about that, to journal on it. It is one of the first questions I ask my clients. Imagine the most ideal version of you if you never got a no, if the only answer was yes, if you lived in a bubble and it was your ideal thing.
I think you would only know what the best version of you if you know what you, deserve, what you should
What your full
have,
potential is.
where your potentials are, and to only like accept the best from your surroundings.
Absolutely.
Because it's I think it's our surroundings that just puts us down.
Our environment totally influences the way that we are.
Yeah.
And so that up level, part of what I do in the work that I do with my clients is I teach them how to expand their horizons, because if you only have this frame of reference, how do you know what's beyond it?
Right.
But then when you start to expand your horizons, when you start to see what is possible for other people, for celebrities, for storybook characters, you
Thing
can
is-
start to see bits.
Some people are just afraid of change.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
if we're,
true.
are we doing a life coach lesson right now? But people are afraid of change. I'm one of those people. I like change, but I'm afraid to take the next step towards it because I don't know what's gonna happen. It's like this I can navigate. This I know how to deal with, but I'm not sure if I can, deal with a different situation in life. And I'm pretty sure most of the audience would have the same issue.
Yep. And then when you change, the moment you change is when staying stuck becomes more uncomfortable than the change and what could happen. So being stuck can get that uncomfortable. The situation that you're in, this life that you live can be that uncomfortable that you go, nope, I'd rather see what's off that cliff. And you take the leap of faith and you believe, because I'll tell you something, everybody who needs to hear this. We could either choose faith or we could choose fear. Faith stands for full assurance in the heart.
Okay.
Is that
Fear-
actually what faith stands for?
That's what I call it for.
Okay, that's nice.
Fear stands for false evidence appearing real.
But the thing is, if you don't have fear, you might put yourself in danger.
You sound
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Batman now.
So we need like an equal level of both fear. So not always black and white.
Right.
You need the gray area where you have a little bit of fear, but still expectations, really high expectations with, like a safe amount of fear to make sure.
Oh,
you
don't
yeah.
know, I always
Fear is
thought-
evolutionary.
I
Like,
always thought fear.
If we
is-
didn't have fear, we wouldn't be here today. I mean, we would probably just throw ourselves in the streets and
I
get
don't
hit
know.
by
I
cars.
have a belief that fear is a product of our imagination.
I tend to agree with you because fear comes from the past. It is what our mind knows, and our mind is different than our heart. Our mind is different than our intuition. Our mind is our thoughts, and we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And so our mind only knows what is true from the past because it's only lived past experiences. And it can only predict our future based on the evidence
Past.
from the past. It's in this present moment that we create. So when we live and we embody and we stay present, we actually have the ability to move through our life with ease and grace and listen to the cues, the subtle cues from our body, what it's telling us. And intuition will always keep us safe.
It's true, but I think I love I love what we're doing here. But anyway, so fear is important. I'm not gonna say it's it should be the first thing you think about fear. But again, if we didn't have fear, we wouldn't invent. They would invent the brakes in the car. They wouldn't invent the safety gears in like different sports. So fear is essential, but it's not like in a way where it would stop you. It's just to put the safety,
Sure.
methods in front of you.
Absolutely.
That's my opinion on what fear. You just do what you want, but make sure you always have a backup plan or a safety plan. That's my idea.
That's really, really important to have a safety net, because if you have something to fall back on, and that's the beauty of community. Because if we have community, we have a safety net.
You can rely on each other and all that, you know?
And we're
Sense of
meant to be
community.
social
Yeah.
beings.
Absolutely.
We are social beings, but not everyone's social butterfly. I mean, there's introverts
yeah,
and
there are
there's people
introverts.
who are.
And even introverts, I feel like many of them have at least one person or
Of
two
course,
people.
yeah.
Introverts is like you have a friend or two, and that's it. This is your social
This is your
circle,
social
but you still
circle.
are social.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So this experience that you've had with your weight loss surgery
Yes.
contributed to you wanting to be a life coach based on the experiences you've had, and so you can guide people in similar situations or even in other situations.
Yes.
That's what I understand, right?
Yes, and it also allowed me to switch from teaching in a homeroom position to a PE position, so
Okay.
physical education. And when I got into the physical education realm, I realized how important physical literacy was. So I would really say that the weight loss surgery, coupled with realizing I want to live what I've now learned.
Right.
And over COVID, we had to work from home.
Right.
And so that provided me so much beautiful time to have to myself each day.
Nice.
And that was the biggest blessing in disguise that could have ever happened for my life. And I loved being able to spend time with me, take my PE courses, and then be able to apply that when we went back to school to the kids, because teaching them to love on themselves, to pour into themselves, to be mindful is really important, to be able to be present with yourself.
So how did you kickstart the life coaching thing?
It started because I was teaching mindfulness with other people and teaching gratitude journaling, actually.
Okay.
I was teaching because people kept asking me, well, how are you so different? Because it really was quite the drastic change. And I said, I started with gratitude. I started every single day writing. At first, it was writing on a piece of paper and sticking it in a jar, one thing that I was grateful for. Then it became a journal. Then it became more of a thing that I did, that I really started teaching people about gratitude. This led to me having classes of mindfulness and meditation and breathing. This also then led to me learning more and realizing, oh, there's something here that I'm really gifting people in a different way. And I was able to then start a business in the sense that now I was like, oh, I'm doing this. I know what my goals are, and one day I'm going to have a full-on business instead of just teaching like little workshops and seminars.
so, what is the most important lesson in life coaching?
The most important lesson is to know that your authentic self is in there, and you have all the answers within you. Everything that you need is truly already inside. It takes a lot of courage
To admit it.
and patience to go inside and to start looking at it all, and then to unveil it and step into your highest version of self, and to know that anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Anything.
Well, what a beautiful conversation we've been having here today. We're reaching the end of the episode. Thank you so much for your time here.
Thank
It was
you.
a beautiful, spiritual
It
conversation, I would
was.
say.
It was. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Well, we'll be back for the wrap up.
So this is the end of our episode from the Untold.
Yes.
I enjoy talking to Lizzie. She is inspirational.
Right?
I love how she is so open about talking.
She's
everything.
very open.
Canadians are nice.
Canadians are nice.
They are quite
I had to
nice.
ask that question about Canadians because I've always had that question.
They are the nicest
It was the
people
perfect
ever,
time to ask.
and
Yeah.
they just, they're so welcoming, and she has that
She has
amazing.
that bubbly energy,
halo,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I
Like you
loved her.
can, like she can fix everything in your life.
And that's what you should have if you want to be a life coach. You
Yeah,
should
yeah.
have that energy. So again, thank you, Lizzie, for being
Yes,
with us
thank
today.
you, Lizzie.
Thank you, Ahmed, for bringing her. And we have to wrap.
Yep, that's all for tonight's episode of The Untold. Tune in next time for a brand new guest and more stories. Good night.